Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. My name is Jackson, and today I just wanted to introduce you all to the second tank that I have set up, as well as just show you some of the maintenance processes that I go through to help keep the tank nice and clean and looking healthy. Also, make sure to stick around for the end of the video. I'm going to talk about kind of the ideas that I have for the next few videos and talk about a new project that I have, which I'm really excited about, and that is this guy. We have two stands, and I'm gonna put another 7.5 gallon tank over here, and it's gonna look great.
Perfect.
So this is the second tank I've set up. It's a 2.5 gallon Nano tank from de-chlorinator, and so far all that I've put in it, I put Monte Carlo as the carpeting plant, 3 different types of crypts. There's a Cryptocorini Wind DTI in the corner here. At the back, I believe, is the Cryptocorini undulata, and then in the middle towards the back is the Cryptocorini, I believe, Becketii, I think it's called. On the rocks there too, there are 2 different Bucephalandra wavy greens. Up in the front, there's some Anubias Nana Petite, and there's one kind of to the left there, and one is actually getting buried beneath these other ones. And the other plant in here that's along the middle and towards the back right is one of my new favorite plants. It's called Ammonia senegalensis, I believe is how you say it. And it's a really beautiful plant, and it's grown very tall since I've had it. When I started, it wasn't much taller than the Monte Carlo, and it's already put on at least a good 1.5 inches of growth. And as always, I have my Salvinia floating plants on the top. And in this tank, the only other thing is a tiny 5, or I believe 10 watt heater. And I can't quite remember the name of this light, so when I look it up and remember, I'll go ahead and put the name of it on screen here. But yeah, I really like this light, and it also has a really great feature where you can just tilt it off to the side, so when you're working you have easier access to do maintenance, but you don't have to turn the light off, which is pretty handy. Especially, I kind of have this tank right underneath a cabinet, and it's on my kitchen counter, so instead of having to move it out from underneath this counter every time I want to do work on it, I can just tilt the light sideways, and it works pretty well. So I've had this tank running now for probably about 2 months, I believe. I think it's probably back in December that I set it up, and I really like the way that it looks. I actually have some livestock in here. I have some Neocaridina blue, I believe they're called Blue Dream, I think is what they're called. And they're doing really well. They seem to like it in here. However, I've noticed that they're a little bit more, maybe lethargic is the wrong term, but they're definitely not quite as active as my cherry red Neocaridinas. And I can't tell what the matter is with the tank. I think part of the reason for that is that it's just a smaller tank. And when you have a smaller tank, there's less water. And if there's less water, there's less of a buffer for water parameters to remain stable. Either way, as you can see, it is definitely in for a cleaning. And that's what we're going to do today. We're going to go ahead and maintain this tank, and I'll show you how I do that and the methods I use. And it doesn't take too long. Usually, it takes me about 30 minutes to do. So the first thing I like to do when maintaining my tanks is use a combination of this window glass scraper that just has a razor edge and these magnetic kind of cleaners. I can't think of what they're called right now. So let's go ahead and just get a time lapse of that, because it's just going to take too long otherwise. Alright, so with that part done, what I usually like to do next is trim back any of the plants that are looking kind of sad or dead or dying. There's a lot of that going on in the Monte Carlo carpet right now. Oh, look at these guys are hiding in the corner. They're like, what have you done to our home? But I don't really want to touch it. I kind of really just want to let the Monte Carlo do its thing. I think if I were to try and get in there and clip all the bits that aren't working off, it would just be a pretty big challenge, I think, to actually get any of the material out of there. And honestly, that's just more food for my shrimp. So I think instead of trimming any plants, I'm just gonna go ahead and siphon out the water and try to pick up as much of the waste as possible. So yeah, let's do it. Let's go ahead and get this water out of here. Great, so now that that's done, we're ready to add more water now. So you can see I took it down to about half, so roughly about a 50% water change. And I needed to do that much just because it's been probably 2-3 weeks since I've actually done a water change, and it really did need to have a reset, especially because of how I kind of feel like the tank just hasn't really hit its rhythm yet. So a good reset is really going to help. So basically what I do now is I've got my bucket of however much water I took out, I usually put back in. And then I use this Cxdy Prime for removing chlorine and chloramine products. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. No, we'll do one more just for good luck. All right, and we'll give that a good stir, nice and mixed, so that it takes all the chlorine out of the water. And you can do this step either before you add the water or immediately after. I like to do it right before, just because I feel like then by the time I add the water to the tank, it's already perfectly treated for the fish and livestock. I guess I don't have any fish. For the shrimp, I mean, and there's no potential for the chlorine or chloramines to even have a chance to harm them. So I just like to go ahead and do before. Okay, so let's go ahead and add the water back in. This is a perfect example of don't do what I do. There is an outlet right here, and instead of moving the tank, I usually just put this towel over it to prevent any splashes, which do occur when you're adding the water back. So go ahead and be smarter and be safer than I am, and either don't do this or don't do this. Alright everyone, well that's the tank maintenance done. As you can see, it just looks way better, way cleaner and healthier. I took out quite a bit of the salvinia on top because for me that stuff grows like a weed. I can have that amount in there, and probably by the end of the week, I'm filming this on a Saturday, probably by Wednesday or even Friday, it'll be completely covered again. So I'm not too worried about the amount that's left in there. Yeah, I really like the way this tank is looking. To me, I kind of just get this like Hawaii beach feel. I don't know. I think I'll keep this tank going the way that it is for a while. I did not really expect the Ammonia senegalensis to grow that tall that quickly. So it might actually outgrow everything in the tank, and I might have to trim it quite heavily to keep it lower. So we'll see what happens when we come to that. A few times I've kind of wondered if I should just rescape this, just because the tank really hasn't gotten into a good groove. But I don't know, I really like the way that it's looking now, and especially after a good clean, it just looks healthier. The shrimp are more active. So I think just keeping on top of maintenance will probably be what this tank needs, and we'll see. In the future, might need to change and might need to rescape, and if it does, then cool, that's another tank that I get to practice my aquascaping on. Well, that's gonna be it for this video today. Thank you all so much for watching. As always, if you could like and subscribe, that would be really helpful. I'd also love to really hear your comments and ways that I can improve my channel and my content. I have a lot of ideas for videos, and my goal is to just keep making them as long as it is fun. The next few videos I'm gonna post are going to be centered around the construction of this stand, as well as the tank that I end up putting on top of there. and show you kind of the whole process that I have for creating the stand. I'll also put the plans and details for how I made that stand in the description. So if you feel like you like the design and want to mimic it, you'll have that available to you. Also too, I'm going to have a few videos where I go through how I set up the next tank. I'm going to try to go for kind of a rocky, mossy cliff kind of idea, if that makes any sense. But the inhabitant is going to be a betta fish, and I always wanted a betta fish. So yeah, that'll be the next few videos. I'll always be posting updates on these other tanks as I go along. And yeah, thank you all so much, and see you next time.